Welcome to Athletes Lives Network exclusive interviews. Today our guest, star basketball player, East Chicago Roosevelt, class of 1986, Billy Sims. How you doing, Billy?
I'm great.
Doing good. I want to kind of thank you for being on the website.
My pleasure.
It's a pleasure having you on here. Basically, as you know, I've been covering all athletes. I want the world and also East Chicago athletes to know who you are, your athletic experiences, your college days, and one of the most important topics is what kind of advice can you give to athletes who may one day be in your position.
Well,
First question is just kind of tell us who you are and your experience growing up EC.
well, Billy Sims, first off, everybody knows that. Secondly, I attended school at Danville Community College where I was top 20 small forwards in the country. Left there, got into some trouble, being a knucklehead, not listening, and went on to a Division II school at Eastern New Mexico University. I played 3 years there. After leaving there, I came back home and started working for the steel industry, of course. Then now I'm currently employed at Lear Corporation. Other questions, things I've done is did some coaching as far as helping Gary Roosevelt basketball team as a freshman coach for a couple of years. Had some pretty good athletes there, trying to help shape and mold some of the young black kids and giving them directions, giving them a positive role model to look up to during that time. And that's about it.
Okay. Well, give us your early experience. Influences in sports when you was growing up. Who influenced you?
Well, I grew up in the harbor first, the other side of East Chicago, from my elementary years to my first year of junior high at Block School. So most of my influence came from Drake Morris. I saw most of growing up as a kid, sneaking into the basketball game, watching him play, who I thought was just a phenomenal basketball player at the time. Then moving to Calumet, attending West Side Junior High, and having the opportunity to see, other players that I ended up playing with through my sophomore year, Arthur Pollard, Jerome Battle, those guys who at the time were very good role models, and still is today, rather. And getting to see a lot of guys in the neighborhood in that neighborhood at that time that really had played a integral part in who I am today. But for the most part, it was Drake Morris, Junior Bridgman, those type of guys who lived up and end up being somebody you can respect as a kid because they were not in the streets running around disrespecting people. Those kind of guys I admire more than anything.
Okay. Now you stated that you grew up in the harbor side. What elementary school did you attend, and did you play basketball there?
Yeah, I played 1 year at Lincoln Elementary, and I played 1 year at Lincoln, and it was more so like the boys' club because at that time basketball wasn't something I enjoyed doing so much. I was a troubled kid, growing up in the harbor, growing up on Guthrie Street, but somehow, some way, basketball found its way into my heart, and I really started focusing more on it when I became a sixth grader, and I got more and more involved and started playing and having more fun with friends, and I finally found myself saying, look, I'm going to commit to this summer leagues with Adele and Coach Monroe. Those guys can say, hey man, you're going to be a good ball player, you need to stop fighting and stuff. Hey, listen, you need to focus more on playing and participating and not getting in trouble. And I think that really what made me and pushed me more and to be more involved in the sport. So it took time, but I kind of was a late bloomer, and I got better as I moved to Calumet. Found myself playing and competing more with a lot of the older guys that would push you and drive you to be better. It was always a constant battle on the hardwoods in East Chicago and Calumet. Me, Tony Harris, Will Dawson, and a lot of the older guys that were always out there trying to just give me that push. Hey, you got to, trying to talk you down, which was a mental part of the game. Back then, you would understand. You were just a kid, not knowing that guys were pushing you, trying to make you better, and make you understand that it's just not a physical part of the game; it's a mental part of it too. But I think for the most part, growing up in Calumet, I can say that I developed most of my abilities playing there than compared to the Harvard, because it was more of a competitive drive every day. Every single day in Calumet, you were being challenged as a kid. You had to be that kid to not give in, and you had to excel because people were going to challenge you every.
As you stated earlier, you attended Block Junior High School for 1 year, your 7th grade year. Then you went to Westside Junior High for your 8th grade year. Did you play basketball at Block and Westside?
Yeah, I played at Block, and what happened was during my adolescent years at Lincoln, I had gotten set back 1 year, and because of constant fighting, ditching school, and I ended up had to sit out my 8th grade year when I moved to Calumet because of trouble as a kid, as an adolescent. I ended up had to go on the West Side, and Coach Todd, who was the coach at Roosevelt at the time, he was really, my grades were right at that point of my life. They were in place. I was doing far better than I was when I was in elementary, and Coach Todd had suggested to me, hey, listen, when you attend summer school, we're going to try and get you to move you up a grade to your freshman year. And I ended up going to summer school that summer year, going into my freshman year, and being promoted.
Wow, that's good.
So I ended up getting promoted and was able to play to catch up to my year in school. And then that was it. I ended up playing 3 years.
What did it do for your confidence? I mean to cut you off, but like being moved back to your regular grade, did it improve your confidence? Or what?
I got a chance to play with everybody my age at that time, because you got to remember, being a year older than everybody gives you a little more experience, a lot more confidence, and at that time I was 6'1", so everybody's looking at me like, wow, Billy's tall, and so I was just a dominant force in 7th grade because there was nobody taller than me.
Gotcha.
Then as I went to East Chicago Roosevelt, I was with everybody my age, but the confidence was always there. I was always a lot better than everybody at that time because I was so much taller. But I didn't have perimeter skills. It was all post play. But I developed over time, and by my sophomore season, I ended up being moved to varsity right away. And if you make varsity as a sophomore, on East Chicago Roosevelt, you were an exceptional athlete. I was moved to varsity right away. Got a chance to play behind Jerome Battle, who was ideal role model for any kid. Did a tremendous job. My mom would only allow me to run with him because he was so respectful as a young man in high school. And he was, I had to say, one of the kids that I really admired and respected during my years at East Chicago Roosevelt. I had the chance to spend a lot of time with him and talk more one-on-one. He shaped and molded who I was and what I was becoming as a young kid at that time. Jerome Battle, I don't know if a lot of people are really familiar with the class of 1984. It was Jerome Battle, Arthur Pollard, Chevy Sneed. Those guys had we had an exceptional team at that time with Tony Harris. My goals, I just knew by my sophomore year, I just knew it was a state title just there waiting. We had from top to bottom, 1 through 9, we had exceptional talent. But I think, at that time, kids were more focused on their individual stats instead of the team stats and wins and losses. Coach Shaw kind of pushed that, but I think we didn't understand it at the time, and I think that's what really affected us during those days in Roosevelt. But I had to say, for the person that played the most part in who I am during my time at Roosevelt was Jerome Battle.
So you mentioned that early in your career you was a down low post presence. What improved in your game from your freshman year to your sophomore year when you was moved to varsity?
Wow. Well, you had to get stronger, of course, because varsity was a lot more physical, and you had a lot more seniors fighting to be on varsity, juniors and seniors fighting for that one position, no matter what it was. But at that time, I had to get better and learn how to play behind Jerome Battle. At the time, who was 6'5", 6'6" as a senior, and I was about 6'4", 6'5" as a sophomore. But I just got better as the experience came with time. I got better at time playing with Arthur and people teaching you along the way, and it was a criticism along the way too. But at that time, you wouldn't understand it. As a kid, you were just like, wow, I don't know why they criticized me, tempted to quit on several occasions because of that. But it was just someone trying to push you to get you better, to get you to that level where they were. I understand it now. But for the most part, I got better just over time playing with those guys, playing with the experienced people, and developing the skills. On the hardwood, and practice, out of practice, growing up in the projects, being challenged. Every day you had to see it. So that's for the most part where I got most of my abilities from.